I tried Stephen King's insanely productive writing routine and it changed my life. Stephen King is one of the most productive modern-day writers. He has written over 60 novels and over 200 short stories. While many authors spend years trying to write a book, it only takes 3 months for Stephen King to write a novel.
How do you write so many books so fast?
Your output is like the score of a professional basketball game.
But how can he produce such successful and great novels so fast? Well, I found his 3-step master plan that makes him so productive, and it starts with the first step, writing. To have the most productive writing routine, you first must know which type of writer you are. There are 2 types of writers according to Stephen King. The plotters, who know everything about their characters, each desire, goals, their past, maybe some secrets and surprises. The plotter does all the research before writing, knows his plot and where the story is going. He has a plan. And then there's the panster, who writes on instincts and improvises as events unfold without advanced planning. He just figures things out as the story goes along and goes wherever the story leads him. The latter is Stephen King. He simply starts with a situation. For example, 2 children lost in the woods find something sticking out of the ground. He then writes, letting the story develop.
When I started that story, I thought to myself, well, this will be the opposite of Dracula, where the good guys win. In this book, the good guys are going to lose, and everybody's going to become a vampire at the end of the book. And that didn't happen, because you go where the book leads you, and this one just led me into a very dark place. I didn't even want to go there.
The lack of advanced preparation means he can write quickly, producing a novel in around 3 months.
The idea is to start with something and just start to go with it. I have no idea where I'm going with most of these things.
Stephen King dislikes plots because our own lives are largely plotless. Second, because he believes plotting and the spontaneity of real creation aren't compatible. But while the Stephen King writing method is more spontaneous and quicker, and some people may find it more fun,
That the first thing he does with a book is write the last line of that book. And I heard that and I just went, like that. Because to me, that's kind of like spoiling the fun.
it is scary not to know where the story is going. Your characters could decide to do something quite unexpected, and you have to clean up all the inconsistencies with the characters and the story while editing. But this writing style is not the only thing that makes Stephen King one of the most productive writers of all time. Another is being in trance while writing.
Force yourself to get going, 1 sentence, 2 sentences, 3, and little by little you enter that other world.
For King, writing is like self-hypnosis.
And I have a routine because I think that writing is self-hypnosis, and you fall into a kind of a trance if you do the same passes over and over.
So how does he get into this state?
I have to read the last 2 pages of where I left off. It feels to me like I'm on a runway, and from the previous day, I'll always leave some stuff that's unlooked at, that was written, but not even like revised inside the machine, inside the screen, and pick up from there, and it just feels like you get a little bit of a takeoff.
But why is this so important? To be super productive, you gotta get into a flow state really quickly. Because in this state, you are so focused on your writing that you can create effortless momentum. And the best way to get into that state, like King, is to read the last page of your work before starting to write. I'm able to go through and revise it and put myself back into that world, whatever it is. Well, he sits down from 8 to 8:30, has his vitamin pill and music, sits in the same seat, and his papers are all arranged in the same places. It's pure routine and habit. Stephen King writes every day, no matter if it's his birthday or the weekend. His daily goal is to write around 6 pages each day, which amount to 2,000 words. That's 180,000 words over a span of 3 months. A good length for a book, according to Stephen King. Something in which the reader can get happily lost if the tale is done well and it stays fresh. He gets those 6 pages done every day, unless there's an emergency. If I don't write every day, the characters begin to stale off my mind. They begin to seem like characters instead of real people. He begins to lose the hold on the story's plot and pace, and the excitement of writing something new fades. While an idea is fresh and new and you're still excited to write about it, you should try to get the first draft done as quickly as possible. You need to immerse yourself into your writing and let the words flow, and learning to shut out distractions is the key to that. But Stephen King doesn't just write the whole day, he also revises his pages and tries to get a clean version of them. He edits them, a little bit and prints out what he likes and then turns off his computer. Having a steady routine makes it easier to get back into the headspace you are when writing. You can't wait for inspiration or motivation to strike, as it may never come. Stephen King stops writing around noon and rewards himself with reading or watching a movie. It's time for the second step of Stephen King's routine. Murder your darlings. Your second draft should look something like this. Your first draft minus 10%. Kill your darlings, even if it breaks your egocentric little scribbler's heart. Stephen King is not the only writer to say this, but what exactly does this mean? It doesn't mean kill your favorite characters, but to edit out parts that you might like but don't add much to your characters and the story. To help you see what is unnecessary, remove yourself from the story. You should forget about your first draft for a minimum of 6 weeks, according to King.
I'd finished a novel, and I am letting it marinate a little bit. You have to get away from it a little while. It's too easy, if you finish something and go right back into it, to either say, this is terrible, or what's even worse, to say, I really wrote a good job. This is great. I'll probably win the Pulitzer Prize.
With his second draft, Stephen King ensures his sentences are in active voice. Just look at this example. In passive voice, it would be, the man was arrested by the police officer. In active voice, it would be, the police officer arrested the man. The subject of the sentence is doing something, while in passive voice, the subject is being acted upon. This choice helps to create a sense of urgency and draws readers closer to the character's experience. Stephen King also removes adverbs from his story and instead replaces them with strong and vivid verbs. Instead of saying he closed the door firmly, Stephen King would write he slammed the door. He also cuts his descriptions. According to him, descriptions should begin in the writer's imagination, but should finish in the reader's mind. But not only that, during his edits, Stephen King makes sure his character's motivation and development and actions make sense. The biggest question is the story coherent? And if it is, what will turn coherence into a song? What are the recurring elements? Do they intertwine and make a theme? This way Stephen King makes sure that his story that he went to without a plan makes sense in the end. Stephen King goes through his edits about a dozen times until a story ends up in the hands of his publishers. This leads us to the last step of Stephen King's writing routine, your productive writing environment. To be the most productive, Stephen King has created the optimal workspace to reduce any friction when writing. No phones are allowed in the room, no TV is on, the internet is turned off, the only non-writing related items on the desk are a glass of water and a cup of tea to keep him hydrated. Like your bedroom, your writing room should be private, a place where you go to dream. But not only that, on your desk must lay the last page of your manuscript. Luckily, one thing is allowed in your workspace: music. Stephen King listens to one specific genre of music, which has scientific benefits of boosting concentration, focus, and productivity. And that's metal.
So I like to create a wall of sound.
So you're writing while you're listening to the wall of sound?
I used to write and listen to the music. Now I write in quiet. And when I rewrite, I put on the music.
But if you're not a metal fan, try at least choosing fast and energetic music. But only under one condition: you have to play the same music on a loop to stop yourself from getting distracted by changing the music.
The best description of writing a novel that I ever heard is actually in Thomas Williams's book. But he says that writing a novel is like building a little campfire on an empty, dark plain. And one by one, these characters come out of the dark, and each one has a little pile of wood, and they put it on the fire. And if you're very lucky, before the fire goes out, it's this big bonfire, and all the characters stand around it and warm themselves. And that's the way it's always been for me.
So try implementing some of these tips and see for yourself how much your productivity increases. Well, please subscribe if you found this video interesting, and see you in the next video.